and this is Brandywine Brigade Scale. Now today I'm going to use the option where both commands of the British Army attempt to cross the Brandywine right here and take the army out. This is what Washington was hoping they were going to do. The whole army was going to try to come in this way and cross the Brandywine. And I believe this will show why Howe didn't want to do this. Forcing a crossing can be very tough and costly. This scenario starts on turn 2 with Knyphausen entering first, followed directly behind on turn 3 with Howe and Cornwallis. Now in the Brandywine scenario, the forces are so few that they don't have the actual headquarter designation on the units. Units will just come with a name on them. This allows you to organize the armies any way you'd like. Now in tribute to both sides' commanders, I've kept them very close to the way they were historically. I like their thinking. Okay, now when I'm playing solo, I draw all the chits ahead of time. It just saves time, and I play with my own solo version of orders. I have the plan in my mind, and I don't diverge from that plan. And I don't take advantage of knowing the chit draw in advance. I also rarely use the alter turn order when playing solo. I play it out as I draw it. Now sometimes, especially towards the end of the game when the order of the draw becomes very critical, such as when trying to capture the bags or something, I will roll alter turn order for the various commanders. So to begin the game, I set my divider to 1/3 of an infantry move, and here as I walk it out, at this point the lead unit will have moved 5 of 6/3. On a road, instead of moving 3/3, they can move twice as fast, 6/3. Knyphausen himself is on horseback, he rides ahead. Now you'll note when I brought this up, this only took 5/3. I still had a third left to move. So I brought 2 of the units up this side road, which allowed me to get the entire command on and leave the road open for Howe and Cornwallis when they come on next turn. Because in the event they get drawn before Knyphausen, I don't want him to hold their army up a turn. Now Greene and Sullivan can move. Now it may be tempting to attack the line here with these units, run them across. They're in column. They count as flanked when firing. But these are dragoons. They can just ride away before the combat's even fought. So that would gain me nothing. And I would lose my position behind the stream. I'm going to hold. And I'm going to put the turn die over here. 8-sided die for the 8 turns. It's now turn 3. I've drawn and put the turn 3 chits out there versus Knyphausen. Now it would be possible for me to charge across and do some attacks, but Knyphausen is an experienced commander and he says I'm going to organize my force first. Now if you're not in cover, you have to stay a third away from the colonial field of fire. So here I've advanced Knyphausen's forces forward. They're out of the colonial field of fire or in cover. And remember, these 2 detachments here wouldn't be ordinarily playing versus a human opponent. They'd have no idea what those units were. Next up is Sullivan. Sullivan is down here defending. These are actually the upper. This Brandywine runs this way, so this is upstream. So he's defending the 2 upstream crossings. It's all silent here in front of him. Greene is also holding his position. There's nothing going on yet. They hear them there, but they don't really know what's going on. Now Cornwallis and Howe come on. Just to mark the move, Cornwallis is taking a left flanking force, and Howe is taking the right flanking force. Cornwallis has 2 elite blocks, the Grenadiers and von Donop's Prussian Grenadiers. Now you'll see here that Sterling's men have this part of the road covered with their field of fire. Howe would have liked to have brought his artillery here and set it up, but he can't enter that part. He can't get that close. He'll have to set up outside the field of fire, which is fine because this will give Cornwallis a chance to come out of road column in the woods and present a threat at this crossing. Now we have Washington's chit is drawn. Now with Washington's chits drawn, his forces are also kind of in place, but he has his 2 cavalry units, and he's got Maxwell's light troops with the militia. This is his elite backup force that's going to handle any crisis. Right now the units with the labels down are the packed up baggage trains. When they unpack, I'll flip them up like that. Washington calls Armstrong forward, but keeps Pulaski's and McLean's dragoons back. That ends turn 3. Now it's turn 4. One thing about the opposing armies, there's a lot of elite British troops, If they had 8 turns to fight in your typical battle, they would crush the colonial forces. But here you'll note, we're already beginning turn 4, and they haven't even attacked yet. Now in Howe's defense, he assumed when he showed up with his troops, the colonials would just run. Washington is drawn first. This means he won't be able to react to anything the British do. Next is Cornwallis. This is all under Cornwallis's command. Howe, as army commander, can provide command to anyone, any unit on the British side, so they can attack. We're going to see if these colonials just run. Going to send some dragoons across the stream. Well, the grenadiers form up and get ready to try next turn. And Howe has the artillery open up across Jones Ford. Getting 2 hits, Sterling is spent and retreats. And Howe's troops surge across. Now they lose a third crossing the river. They cannot contact any of these colonial troops. So now I'm going to look and see how close can they come. They can just get across. That's what they'll do. Next is Greene. This is Greene's command up here. They're not doing anything yet. Then we have Sullivan. Sullivan's up here. These are Washington's troops. These 3 are Sullivan's. What are they going to do? Well, he's going to hold and fight. At this point, they need to hold. And Nipalson is ready to advance forward. He moves there, placing all of his command within command range. And his artillery fires on the colonists defending at the bridge. Well, it's not really a bridge. This is Britain's Ford. It's just a ford. They also throw the colonials back. J. Grant's men attack the retreating colonials. Ferguson's Highlanders attack the colonial artillery in the flank. These 2 detachments move up to threaten. Again, remember, 2-player game, they wouldn't know what this is. They just know there's 2 more blocks ready to cross. This wing of Nipalson's force has no elite units other than these Yagers here, which are a detachment. So they're going to move forward like that, look dangerous, make sure the colonial army sees them, and they're going to hold there. Military terms, they're demonstrating. Here we have a detachment of dragoons attacking across the river. They're going to use the weak die. They're just a detachment. All they can do, the best they can do is 1 hit on these defenders. The defenders get to use the good die. Now the good die shows a 1, which means the dragoons are going to be destroyed. The dragoons rolled a red 2. Because it's red and they're dragoons, it has to be re-rolled. They get a black result. And that is a miss. So the dragoons are eliminated and nothing gained. Ferguson's Scottish Highlanders, with their 2-handed broadswords, flank attacking the colonial artillery. Oh, Knox, you poor bastard. Same thing. They get good dice, they get bad dice. And they do nothing but Ferguson's Highlanders only get 1 hit. Well, most assuredly, they retreat. I was checking to see if they can retreat into a field of fire, which they can. They just can't retreat over enemy units. Then they're eliminated, of course. And finally, J. Grant's attack. Well, this colonial unit just got retreated fell back because of the artillery. So they're being attacked in the rear by Grant. It's another flanking attack. They're using the good die because they're flanking, attacking the rear. And because they're being attacked in the rear, they're using the weak die. But the dice are hot for the colonials. Both sides do 2 damage. 2 eliminates the spent unit. Grant is spent and driven back. Essentially, Nash's troops were able to recover and drive Grant's troops back to the river, but in doing that, that was their last effort of the day. Alright, now we move on to turn 5. Things are looking dire for the colonials. Oh George, what will you do? Now we've zoomed in a little bit. It's turn 5. Mid-afternoon. First out of the chute is Washington. Washington is going to unpack bags. Actually, he'll unpack bags farther back by Birmingham Hill. Sterling's troops will fade into the woods. He'll place the artillery along Birmingham Hill. And Maxwell and the militia will fall back to Whiston's Woods. These 2 blocks are Sullivan's troops. They don't move yet. Next up is Greene. Greene sends his bags back to Dilworth. Muhlenberg's men move to join up with the line, and they stop just behind the hill to protect themselves from the artillery fire. This artillery is going to cause them some problems. Wheaton's troops also take cover behind the hill. No, Green will keep them right there. He's got these troops held up. The small detachment will move. They'll probably get about as far as the swamp there. Now Sullivan moves. Critical here, after their line has been essentially broken, as the British have crossed the stream. All three commands of the Colonials went first. Now Sterling can fall back. Stephen falls back along the road along Radley's Ridge. Nipphausen moves next. He moves to his left, takes command, and he sends J. Grant and Ferguson against Muhlenberg. His artillery crosses and sets up on Rondelet Hill, as the rest of his troops swing around and consolidate. He sends a few detachments to guard his flank. Nipphausen's assault on Green's men. J. Grant's men take it on the chin. Ferguson's Highlanders come forward. Muhlenberg's spent troops fall back. And now it's turn 6, dinner time. Now there's all sorts of options I could have here to pick apart Green's command with Nipphausen's forces, but their orders are to drive up in the center. And that's just what he does. His artillery fires on the Colonial artillery, sending it back in confusion. The Colonials are hit hard. Seeing himself maneuvered out of position, Maxwell falls back to Battle Hill. Cornwallis drives forward, leaves some men to watch his flank, brings his artillery across. Howe steps confidently across at Jones Ford. Impatient to be missing the action, Cornwallis sends his troops forward. Sterling's exhausted troops attack the hated British in the center. Stephen moves up. Now he's within the field of fire, but he's in cover so he can stay there. Seeing the collapse in the center, Green sends his men forward. And in a grave mistake by the British, and an honest mistake on my part, Nipphausen's bags were left exposed. Green's troops contacted the bags. Nipphausen has already moved, so he can't move these bags out of the way. He can't move anyone. The British are done moving. Howe sees Colonial troops seizing the bags, compromising the position. He calls off the attack. He orders a retreat. This time, Brandywine has a very different ending. Good game.